All right, welcome back to Venture School. Today we're going to talk about achieving product market fit. Now, you may have heard of this concept, product market fit, thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Today we're going to talk about that. And to help illustrate it, we're going to talk about one of my favorite companies here in Utah, a company called Neighbor. This company, what they do is they're like Airbnb for storage. So if you've got like an RV pad and you're not using it because you don't own an RV, you could rent that RV pad on Neighbor to your neighbor who does have an RV, and they could put it on that RV pad, and then they would pay you money every month. So whether you've got any sort of excess space that you're not using that could be used for storage, you could put it on Neighbor and start generating passive income, right? So that's what they do, and they've had a lot of bumps over the years, but have also been incredibly successful. So this will be a fun case study for us to go through together in terms of identifying product market fit. And by the end of this video, you should be able to look at most companies and at least have a general idea of whether or not they've achieved product market fit. All right, so first is, what is product market fit? Well, just like it sounds, it's if your product fits with the market. Or in other words, like, does your market need, love, want, and is willing to pay for your product in a way that is scalable, right? So for example, sometimes companies will say, hey, we started selling this product and we solved this solution for this person, but we had to tweak it a little bit so that it would work for them. But then this other person, we sold it to them too, but it was for a different use case, so we had to tweak it a little bit for them, right? That's not really scalable. What you want is the ability to say, here's our product, and it solves the need for a bunch of people and they just buy it, right? That's one example of product market fit. Another part of product market fit is this idea that you are solving this huge pain point for them and they are pulling the product from you. As soon as you start to feel pull on the product instead of having to push it on people, that's a pretty good sign that you're achieving some product market fit. Ultimately, it all comes down to, hey, we are solving this pain point for our customer in such a way that they are desperate for our product. And there are a lot of those customers. Because oftentimes what happens is you have companies that are either solving the pain point for a customer really, really well, and those customers are just dying for the product, but there aren't very many of those customers. That's not really product market fit that matters for a VC, because we want companies that can grow really big markets, right? Or the other is, hey, we're solving the pain point for lots of customers, but we got to tweak our product every single time we sell it. That's not scalable, right? So you want scalability in terms of like the ability to sell more and more products to lots and lots of people. All right, that's what product market fit's all about. Now, why does it matter for venture capitalists? Well, companies, once they achieve product market fit, it becomes this huge inflection point from both a risk and therefore a valuation standpoint. It's really where venture capitalists will start to really pay attention and go deep and write big checks. So essentially, what you have is you've got pre-product market fit and post-product market fit. Pre-product market fit is your seed stage investing, right? And essentially what you're doing as a seed stage investor, you're giving the company money and you're saying, okay, here's some money. I want you to go out and get to product market fit. That is your only goal as a company, right? And so you may have a product and you're going to put it out there in the market and you're going to engage with customers and you're going to see how they interact with you, right? And so you're going to engage with your customers. You're going to sell the product. You're going to tweak it. You're going to add features. You're going to think about different selling models. You're going to think about like, how do you express the benefits that the product offers, all of those things, until you're able to solve that pain point for the customer and communicate it well. And you're able to identify a market that's big enough that you can actually then start raising real amounts of money to spend on marketing and sales and get your product in front of more and more people and grow and get bigger and bigger. Now, there are lots of different ways to measure product market fit. Could be based on revenue, could be based on interaction on the platform, could be a lot of things. So for example, one of my friends who's a venture capitalist told me the story about Facebook, where he met with Facebook in the very early days. He was like, I don't know, there's a lot of competitors. There's like Friendster and MySpace and like whatever, like not that interesting. And he was like, the mistake I made was I was in Venice. And, here you are in this incredible, beautiful city. And I walked through the hotel lobby and I saw a girl who was on one of the hotel computers on Facebook. And he was like, looking back, that was an aha moment of, hey, here's a girl who's traveled halfway around the world to Venice, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and she is on Facebook rather than exploring the city. And that's because Facebook had achieved product market fit, right? Like they had sucked that user in, like so many of us, into social media. And so for them, product market fit was not about necessarily generating revenue, it was around generating engagement. So another example is, let's talk about Neighbor. So when Neighbor launched, right, they didn't know exactly who was going to rent their space to other people, right? And they didn't know exactly who was going to rent the space from those people. And they didn't know the best way to get in front of those people, right? So there's this whole question of like, I've got two markets. I've got this dual-sided market problem. How do I get people to put their property and their space on the platform? And how do I get other people to find out about it and be willing to put their space, their stuff in those spaces? And so they tried a lot of different things. They worked with college students, right? Because they were like, hey, look, college students every year, they got to leave. Maybe they bought a bunch of stuff, furniture, whatever. They need a place to store it for the summer. And they don't have a lot of money. And so maybe we can work something out with that. They tried a bunch of different things. And ultimately, they were able to achieve product market fit when they were able to dial in on a handful of use cases that seemed super prevalent for their users. And what they saw was, even without technically opening up a new market, they had customers that were going on and listing space on their platform, and other people that were going on and kind of connecting with those people and storing their stuff there. And it was a big eye opener for them that they had really nailed like their messaging, and that they didn't need to be concentrated in one area. Even small numbers of people were looking for this solution already. And at that point, they were able to go nationwide. So why does it matter to venture capitalists? Well, as a venture capitalist, right, you want to invest in companies that have achieved product market fit, because at that point, you can put money into the company and feel confident that they can take that money and turn it into some multiple of revenue and value ultimately. If they haven't achieved product market fit, essentially what you run the risk of is premature scaling, where it's like, oh, hey, we think this is what our customer wants. Let's plow a ton of money behind marketing and we'll grow really fast, but then the customer doesn't really want it. And so they churn off, and then the company really struggles and goes out of business. Or maybe you solve the pain point for a customer and you do it incredibly well, and you put a bunch of money behind marketing and you scale up really fast, but your market's not very big. There aren't very many of those people, and you tap it out, and now you can't grow anymore, and the company plateaus, right, and stagnates. So those are the things that you want to avoid as a venture capitalist. Like, you want the seed stage investors to help fund them, get them to the point where they can achieve product market fit. Once that's achieved, then you plow in money to help them figure out marketing and sales, build their organization, grow, and scale. So we've talked a lot about product market fit. I just want to hammer home a couple things about like, how do you know when you've achieved product market fit? For me, the thing that's like the ultimate flag is that you start to feel pull in the business, right? Instead of going out to customers and kind of pushing your product on them, they start coming to you and asking for your product and demanding it, right? I'll give you another like great story. So we were an investor at University Venture Fund in a company called Instructure. And one of the things that I loved that they did is they were building this new learning management system to compete with Blackboard. So if you weren't through college, you probably either used Blackboard or Canvas or Desire to Learn or some of these other platforms. Instructure made Canvas, and everybody hated Blackboard. And so they knew that there was an opportunity to build something better. But rather than just like build a product and throw it out there and then push it through sales, what they did is they went and they built their entire product in PowerPoint. And they went to CTOs around the country and they pitched them this product in PowerPoint. And they kept making revisions and kept doing pitches until they didn't get any more feedback. And at that point, they wrote their first line of code. At that point, they already knew basically what to build, because CTOs had been giving them tons of feedback on the things that they specifically wanted. And when they built it, it was what CTOs wanted. And they went out and were able to sell that. And CTOs and CIOs at different universities were so excited to have a really great learning management software product that they started buying it in droves and started to pull on the revenue. So that's what you ultimately want to look for. You want to fill that pull. You want to look for for companies that are solving a pain point for a large number of people, right? Big market. And you want that pain point to be something that's easily replicated. So you don't have to tweak and change the product for every single customer. If you've really achieved product market fit, you should be able to just say, hey, here's our product, and the customer runs with it and is like super excited about it. Hopefully this is helpful in terms of understanding better what product market fit is, what it isn't, why it matters. Join me for our next Venture School episode where we're going to talk about what makes an attractive market size. Thanks.